Okay, so we're not going to go for anything pretty on this website. It's just going to be functionality. So no style components. I don't believe that's actually in the sprint. So we should be okay with not with not doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this is kind of from scratch. I don't remember if you have to install modules or any of that kind of stuff, or what type of a module you'll need. I just don't remember off the top of my head, and I'd have to go through and look it up. But I'm going to still show you how to do it, and kind of start from scratch. So right now, this is just a very blank React app. It literally just has like a header one that says Tesla Motors. And effectively what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that you can have like a, order, Model S, Model X, that kind of thing. So each one's going to be its own link. And then we'll make it so that once when you click that link, it's going to go to the order complete page. So for this one, we're just going to put all the state on app because I'm going to need that data to go to 3 separate components. Well, technically app is where it's going to live. So it's there, but it's not really, doesn't really show up on there. But maybe we'll make a conditional button if there is data, then maybe we'll make it so it says see my order or something like that on the home page. That'd be kind of like a stretch for tonight. So typically this, for me to do this is going to be, it's probably going to be maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. So, it's going to be a late night for a lot of you, especially if you're on the East Coast. So I guess let me get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to install React Router DOM. And if you don't already have like React Router DOM inside of your dependencies, if you just do npm install, or I'll do npm I React Router DOM like this. They just came out with a new version 6 and it breaks everything. So just FYI, this is kind of the fix to that. Notice how we're at 6.0.2. Like just a few nights ago is 6.0.1. So they've been working on it and probably unbreaking things. But if you were to go npm uninstall React Router DOM, if you see this as version 6, you're going to have problems unless you feel like reading documentation during a sprint, which I would not recommend. You can figure it out, but it's a little harder. So what you can do is you can tell it what version you want. And I believe that we can do it with 5.2.0. And I'm gonna check this. This may still install version 6, but typically if you do an @ and then the version number that you want, it'll usually install that. If not, then we'll just do some other tricks to make it work. Yeah, cool. So this installed React Router version 5.2.0, and that's going to fix any of the weird breaking changes that React Router 6 brought this week. So I always love it when it happens on a sprint week. Any questions so far? I guess not. Okay. So we're going to need to import, a browser router. So our provider. React router DOM. And we're going to need to put our router here. And we're going to wrap it here. We're going to save that, make sure it didn't explode. Failed to compile. Router is not defined. See, I'm kind of wondering. Oh, sorry. I got to have a capital R. My bad. All right, so that's loading. So we haven't crashed anything. So typically you'll want to do one change and then test it instead of going out and trying to say, hey, I just programmed the entire web page and then you got 800 errors, and it's a never-ending battle to fix what you started. So without this provider, your React router will not work. So just a quick overview on that. So what we may do here is we may make a header here. And then maybe have a nav section. So now we're going to start getting into the different routes and the link attribute. So wrong key. React router DOM. So a link is just basically an anchor tag. So it'll come up with A every single time. Does anybody know the difference between a link and a nav link? That's a kind of a harder question. Some people might know it. Just come off the microphone if you guys know.
Is it link is just, I'm just trying to think. Navigation link would be like when we route it back to the navigation to the home page, and then the link is just like the URL where it's supposed to target to.
So a lot of the times it comes down to one is stylable or not stylable from what I understand, and a nav link is the one that would be more stylable. Link is just a little weird with that, and that will come up on like some really obscure tests. Like people will throw that at you, and there's other differences, but the main reason why I asked that is I've actually seen that on like people that are trying to see if React and React router, is they're looking to see if it's stylable or not. And I'm like, dude, I can overwrite any style. It doesn't matter what it is, but the nav links are styled differently is effectively what they're looking for. But in this case, we're just going to be using links. We're not going to be doing anything crazy. I don't even know if that's even applicable anymore in React Router 6. So we're going to do a link, and we're going to do 2, and we're going to say, oh yeah, I do need the, we're going to say home. So we're going to need a link to and we're going to say order. And we're going to do a, well, I guess completion sounds fine. We'll just do completion. So the completion page. And so now if I save this, let's see here. So we've got our home, which just takes us back here. The order form takes us to /order, and completion is this. And with the order format, actually, I'm going to make it so it has a default of model 3, because why not? So if I go to order form, it goes to order /3. And then if we wanted to do like a model S, it would be there. Let's say an X there, or a model Y here. So 4 different cars, right? So we'll say order. We'll just say order model 3 like that. So if we wanted to do one for, so they have the S3, X, and Y is the order they have it on the website. Elon Musk is famous for his sense of humor, obviously. And for me personally, I do something like a main. And that's showing my age. A lot of people don't do that anymore. Some places don't want you to touch a tag name main, which it baffles my mind, but it makes perfect sense to me. So if we wanted to make our routes, we're going to need a switch. Take that, let me put that in here. We're also going to need to have a route. So on our route, exactly how would we do our route? If we're trying to do, say, our completion form, for example.
The URL and then /completion.
Okay, so would we do URL or would we do like path?
Path.
Oh, there we go. So we'll do route, path, completion, and then I'm going to do another one here, and we'll say order, because we only need 2 routes for this. And order / and then this will be model. So this colon whatever this name is here after the colon is the variable name that you destructure out of your use params. So for right now, all we're going to do is we're just going to do a div and say completion. And in here, we're going to have a div and say order, like that, right? So I just want to make sure that this actually goes. We got home, order, completion, and all of these other ones are order, order, order. You may actually need to style that a little bit. We can do that right quick. That's just a little too much. So I'm going to do a new CSS file. So we'll do, and we'll say anchor tags, and we'll do we'll say make them a block level element. It'll make it take up the whole page, but at least they'll be one on top of each other. And then if we wanted to import that, we would just do import, I can spell. See if that breaks it. There we go. Okay, so now we've got our page here. So we know that the router is working. We're on completion. We're at home. And if we wanted to, we could, you know, just copy this one because it's easy enough. And let's say home. So we're at home. The nope, missed something. So now I've broken it. Yeah. I think these have to go like that. I always forget there's like some ordering things. So there's completion, order form, order form, order form, order form, and home. So we've got our 3 routes, one for, you know, say select the car above, something like that. And, you know, model 3, that kind of stuff. So this completion, we're probably going to want to make it so that this is going to be conditionally rendered because we don't really need a completion. And if we're on the home page, we probably don't need to render the home page. That's kind of stuff that we can do later. That's kind of stretch right now. So let's start making a component. Kind of a little behind on time. I was sort of hoping I'd get to this point in about 5-10 minutes sooner, but that's okay. We'll make a new directory called components, and we're going to do the completion component first. If I can spell. So in a new component, you need 3 basic things. You need your import, your export, and your function. So I do arrow functions on mine. We're just going to call this completion. We're going to pass in props. And immediately I always console log in any function. I try to figure out in any function I console log whatever parameters are being passed in. So in this case, props, and we need to do a export default completion and a return. And I'm just going to put something here. Say, thanks for ordering, something like that. So now instead of us having div completion, we're going to have completion.
I'm sorry, Brian. Should
Yes.
this be .jsx? I don't remember ever seeing that before.
Well, so like JSX and JS are effectively the same. This allows me to use emit. So like if I'm in here and in a JS file, I have to like type like that to get my div, where I have to start it with that opening bracket. On this, I can just type div tab. So it allows me to use the linter more effectively. But there's nothing particularly secret about it. It's just the way I usually like to do my components is with the extension JSX, only because the linting is better. But the React framework treats it just like it's a JavaScript file. Use one or the other, not both.
Thank you.
Let's see here. It's too early for my voice to go crackling yet. Oh, we also need to change these. S. There we go. Okay. So, yeah. If we've got completion, we've got thanks for ordering. So that says that we're going into completion. And for right now, that's all we need. We don't need anything super fancy on this. Maybe later. Right now, we don't even have any data going into this. So let's start thinking about some initial values. So if we have an order form, probably some things you probably want to get is like name, right? Model. You might want to do, say if you wanted the performance option, and this will be false because it's true or false. It's either performance or it's not performance. And maybe a terms of service. Anything else you guys could think of? Maybe some other options like a color. That might be good. Select a different color, a little radio button. And because like these two are going to be check boxes here, and then color could be like some sort of a drop down, right? So if, let's see here. Sorry, my other screen was dinging at me. So that's probably enough information for us to get a basic order form. So what we might do also is make our schema. So And in this case here, we're going to need to install yup. So we're going to install yup. Make sure that that installs correctly. If we go back over the package JSON, you can see that we've got yup. And let's see if I can remember. It's yup.object and then shape, I think. And then the shape's just going to be an object here. And we have, I'm just going to copy this so we can get a general idea here. And stop me if you guys have seen this before, but sometimes I'm a little slow on the uptake when it comes to this. So we're going to use yup.string. And we're probably going to require with an error message on that. And that's going to be name is required. Sounds good. Maybe a minimum of, say, 2. And say something like that. So we've got a require error and a minimum of 2 characters for your name. So the model is going to be string. We'll also make this require. And this is going to be is required. And we'll do a max on this one of 1. And we'll say, please. We'll say follow the order flow. I don't have a better way of putting that. Now, when we're dealing with checkboxes, that's the one that I've always kind of, I guess, maybe not struggled with yet, but I'm going to just stick it in as a Boolean. And this one is not going to be required, so that's going to be nice and easy. So we're going to do yup. Oops, if I can type. Yup. Dot. And then terms, we do want to have that. And let me see, I think I've got some code because this was a little tricky a couple of times ago that I've done this. Let me see here. I'm sure I can just Google it, find a Stack Overflow thread or something. I think it's just Boolean and required, but I could be wrong. So
Brian,
yes.
if it's supposed to be a checkbox instead of Boolean, can we have a checkbox value there?
They probably have checkbox in here. I'll have to look that up in Yep's thing. So we could do, yeah, say I've got a previous search for required checkbox. So let me see. There we go. Yeah, so they're using yep.boolean on here. So this is going to be a yep.boolean. Oops. And then the require, we're just going to say is create a term of service. And then color is just going to be a, let's see, what would that be? Sorry, it's been a little while since I remember this one. This one's a little bit harder because you're going to have more than one possible solution to the checkbox problem. Let me just see. I believe, what was it? One of, let me do another Google search. Sorry, I'm kind of, see, that one's better. Okay, yeah, so it is one of, but we're not trying to do a mixed one like that one is. So this color is going to be a yep string because we're expecting a string, and this is going to be a one of. Now, what we can pass in is an array of what we're expecting. And so we'll start with white, gray, ooh. So these are the colors that we're expecting. And we're gonna do, say color is required, like that. So this is gonna be our yep schema. And it's basically a copy of what we have here, except we're telling yep what we're expecting. So the data type on each one of these is string or Boolean, and then this one here should be Boolean. And there's no requirement on performance or not. Somebody keeps dinging me. Why are you dinging me? Let me mute that. I've got it so you guys can't hear unless it comes over the microphone, but it's sometimes a little bit annoying. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for our schema. So the other thing is, since we're going to be dealing with these errors, is we need to have a way of resetting these errors. So I'm just going to copy this again, and we're going to say errors, and there isn't an error for performance, but just for our normal sakes, we're going to leave it in there, and terms. So all these are going to be a string value for our initial errors. So this will allow us to reset the form and change any of the errors that are displaying on that form. So now we get to deal with our state. So we're going to need to have I guess 3 slices of state for the form and 1 slice of state to store what car you ordered. So if we do a let's see, we'll do a car set car, and we equal this to use state, and that should have brought it in actually. Yeah, so we've got use state up here. And the car, in this specific case, is just going to be an object. This isn't going to be anything that we're mapping over or anything crazy. Nice and simple object that we're going to be posting to. So not like your user onboarding project where it gets interesting. We're going to need our form values. Oops, sorry. And this is going to be our initial form values. So right here. So this is going to make it so that we don't get an error on React where it says something along the lines of, hey, you're modifying a controlled form or something like that. I forget what the exact error message is. But if you have your names on here incorrect, your keys should match the name. If it doesn't match, then you're going to get an error. And then we're going to need another slice of state for our to display our errors. Oh, sorry, const. And then the last one is we're going to need to have some way of disabling and enabling a button. So if we do and this, we want it to be true, so it's disabled. If it's false, then it's not disabled. So these are the 4 slices of state in order to get your form information. You need to have your error information, whether or not the button is enabled, and the final product of you clicking the order button. So now we need an order form. So we can go back up here and we'll just call this order. Let's see if this explodes first. I didn't save that. Okay, failed to compile. Yup is not defined. I don't think that I imported yup. Nope, did not import yup. Let's see here. Yeah, sorry. Gotta have that in quotes. Come on, man. Yep, does not contain a default export. Yeah, that's right. One of these days I'll get this right. And okay, now I got to go back over to my notes. That's horrible. Oh yeah, that's right.
I
It's
think you
star
need a
as, yeah,
star,
star
yeah.
as, yep. That's what I got. I was like, oh man, I'm trying to do this from memory. I've got my notes from like when I did this a long time ago, and I don't try to bring them up. I have them like off camera, and like I don't even look at them that much. It helps me to kind of reason through it. All right, what do we have? Yeah, see, I've already broken it. Did I mention something about not making 100 changes and then hoping for the best? So let's see. Yep, object shape. That should be fine. String require is not a function. So that should be working. It doesn't like that. Yep, string. Let me see if I can find the docs on this. So yeah, see, yep, dot string dot required. Should be there. Required. That's probably the problem. Getting my names confused. Save that. See if that explodes. JS line 9. It does not like yep.string. Dot required. Hold on. Yeah, it did. That one was still saying require, and it requires the T. Oh, it must be late. What do you guys think?
I definitely feel you.
Oh, the struggle's real. Let me drink some water and then we'll get back at it. All right, so what we have is the order. So our order form, we're going to need the three things. So our import. And I think after 17, React 17, you don't actually need to have that import. But I still have to deal with ancient stuff, so I teach it anyway, because why not? Next thing we're going to need is our function. I can spell. And I don't think that we actually need to have props in there, but I'm putting them in there at the moment as well. And so we're going to do just a div is fine. And we're going to say and we go back here to app.js and we look here, we've got this variable called model in here. And so we can grab this from, I swear I can't type today. We can grab this from our React Router DOM. We're going to use params from React Router DOM. And use params is pretty simple. Use params as an object, so we're going to destructure model out of it. And where we're getting that model from is right here on the route path. The colon model is the name. And we're going to use params and invoke it. So if we do like that, don't think that we're going to break it. Oh yeah, we still need to import it over here. So we'll do and I think we still need to import it. Move this one up. And we'll do order. Just like that. Oh, it exploded. No default export. I guess that we probably need that last thing that I told you we needed. So export default order. All right, so now we've got order form for model Y. Ooh. And model S, model 3, model X, Y. Cybertruck. Hey, look, we hacked it. Ooh, anybody got questions? We haven't even made the form yet. We just did schema. Questions, comments, concerns, scary nightmares, anything? Okay, I'll continue on. So we have a schema that we're not using yet. We have our initial state for our errors and our order form. Our initial state for disabled is just true. It's not anything that I have to worry about. And there is no car. So probably my guess is on completion, we probably want to pass car. Down as state. And then if we go back over here to, we'll go to console here and we go to completion, you can see that car here is just an empty object. There's nothing in there. So there's nothing to display. But once when we get done, then there will be something to display. So let's just take this. We're going to copy this over and start making an order form. So these are all going to be different labels. I think I'm going to put name, model, color, performance, and terms. So we'll do a label. Come on now. What do we have? 4 left? Yeah, 4. Oh, missed it. Do this multi-cursor thing to make my life a little easier. And we're moving stuff around. So now we have labels for this form. Let's make sure I didn't break anything. So we'll go to the model Y. So yeah, so we got name, model, color, performance, and terms. And if we put in an input, input type of text is fine. The type of text. And then this one here is a drop down, which I'll have to look that up here in a second. I always forget how to do a drop down in HTML. I have to look it up every time. I've been doing this for quite a while. So, but checkbox is just a checkbox. And then terms is going to be another checkbox. This is the stuff that you get when you use a .jsx file over a JS file. Is just a lot less stuff to memorize. So let's look up a HTML dropdown because why not? Yeah, so it's select an option like this. Hey, look, they even have car related stuff. So paste. Oh, geez, I missed it, didn't I? Everybody dropping like flies there. All right. That's horrible. All right, so this one is going to be white, gray. I think we said red, right? We can always add red back in. You got to have a red car, right? Somewhere in there. It's late. We've been doing this for about an hour now. Haven't even gotten into testing yet. Very great. And white. See. All right, so now we have white, gray, blue, black, red. There's ways of making it so that there's something else. I think you can do just an option and leave it blank. That. Yeah, there you go. And we can also add in a little bit of CSS on that. And we'll do Form. Make it so it goes vertical for us. Yeah, order form for model Y, name, model, select your color, preferences, terms, and I guess we probably want a button. Where's the button? Not the gumdrop buttons. All right, cool. Let's do, we'll do a submit button. See, nice, huh? Order your car. Hey, look, there's no order your car button. Oh wait, that's in the select. Whoops. Let me put that down at the bottom of this thing. Save it. All right, cool. Now we got a order your car button that refreshes the page. Not what we want, but you know, we got to take what we can get. So we have to store this data somewhere. So like if I type in, you know, Brian Haig, this currently is just sitting in the form. It's not being stored anywhere. So we need to store it on our state. So in React, every time that you change state, it's going to refresh that component. And there's ways around that, but the way that we're teaching right now, it makes perfect sense until you get into really, really large applications, and then you just learn to pull the state when you hit submit instead of every time that you hit a keystroke. But this also allows us to run yep. So let me go back over. I need to look at my notes since it's getting a little bit late. Yeah, so we're going to need to just kind of pass in our values, our errors, our disabled, and our car, set car. All of these things need to go in. I'm just going to kind of copy this. And this order, we are going to have a ton of state in here. So let's see here. Let's get rid of all the stuff we don't need in here. I guess we don't need these. Or these. This. That. No commas either. All right, so these are all the variables that I'm having to pass as props, mostly because we're storing all of this state on one app. And this is actually one of the easier ways to do it. A little insane, but this will take you less time than trying to figure out, you know, different providers or anything like that during a sprint. And this is the curly brackets. So we're going to do equals curly brackets, and I'm going to just paste these in. Like that. Just like that. So let me see here. We're also going to need to, for us to do our disabled button, we're going to need to use a, I guess we don't really need to use a use effect. We can, yeah, because we're going to need to do a schema as valid, aren't we? Yeah, so let me do that right quick. So we're going to do some logic for our disabled button right quick. Because I don't know necessarily that we're going to need the set disabled down here. Because if we can handle it in state here, we don't need it in here. So for the use effect, we need a callback and a dependency array. In this case, we're going to be doing our form values. So anytime form values changes, so anytime you hit a key or drop down a box and select your color or whatever, it's going to run this code. And so we're going to do our schema, which I believe that we call form schema. We're going to do is valid. And we're going to pass in form values. And we're going to do then we're going to check to see if this is valid. And this is going to return a true or a false. So we're going to set our set disabled to the opposite of valid. So it's not valid because this is going to be the opposite of a disabled. So if we want it to be disabled, it's only disabled when it's not valid. So if this is true, so if it is valid, then we want it to be disabled. Or if it's not valid, then we want it to be disabled. If it is valid, we want it to not be disabled. And so this will run anytime that form values changes. So this will be dealt with our change handler. I'm kind of thinking about doing the change handler in here and just passing the change handler in. So yeah, let's do that. And we'll just do one called input change since that works for me. I'll typically pass in the name value pair from the form. And this will be coming off of e.target.name, e.target.value. So anytime that there is a change, it's going to be going here. Yeah, there's that checkbox too that we got to deal with. I'm just going to deal with the text values for right now, and then we'll add in the checkbox because I'll need to look up what the name and value come up with. So let's see here. So right now, we're going to do yes, I don't think we're going to need set on any of those. Set card definitely. Yeah, maybe not. We'll just leave that in there. I don't even think we're going to need card on that. Okay, so we're just down to form values so we can display the values. And we're up to input change. You guys are so quiet. Have I lost everybody or no? You guys still good?
Still here.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. You guys are very quiet. I'm used to a more wily crowd, I guess.
Oh,
So
you're just squeezing a stress ball.
going, oh man, if this is taking Brian this long, then how long will it take me?
You had me actually wanting to get up, so I'm in Central Time, which opens up at 2 a.m. for me. You had me wanting to start at 2 a.m.
Nice. Just take a small nap, right?
Oh yeah.
So the idea here is that we're sending in our change handler so that I don't have to put in all of these things. I just have to bring in the values that I want to display as errors, and I put in the change handler that deals with all of the functions and stuff, and just leave it on app for right now, since this is a really small application. That's all we need to deal with. And we don't really cover global state until next unit anyway, with Redux and context. But yeah, there's better ways of doing it than prop drilling and storing everything on app. So my personal favorite is Context API. Chris, the Unit 3 TA, his favorite is Redux. So always fun when we get Redux going. Let's see. So we get input change. So notice how this is colored kind of like a yellow color. So if you hover over this, you can see that it's a function because it says name any, value any, and then arrow function void. So this is telling you that that is a function. And if we go over this is telling you what the object is, what that object is, and this is just a Boolean. So this is giving us some nice input as to what we're passing in. And you can pass in functions, you can pass in strings, objects, Booleans, arrays, whatever you want. So it's just, you know, inside of an object. So now if I save this, and we can go and open up this, you can see that we've got, oh, let me clear this. You can see that we've got disabled is true. We've got our form errors. We've got our form values. And they're all like named. So like you could do form errors.color, form errors.model, name, performance, etc. And so it makes it really easy for you to make your errors and disabled and things like that work. So instead of me destructuring, I'm just going to write out props dot. So we're going to curly brackets here, and we're going to disable like that. So that's the first thing that I want to get is the disabled button where you can't order your car until it's filled out. And I think, you know, we can do something like, this would be I guess we don't really need the model. That would be something we would just put in manually at the time that we submit. But so this would be a model Y, select your color, white, and agree to the terms. It doesn't work because we don't really have any form field validation. It doesn't know what's in here yet. So the input change is not happening on any of these. So let's get our input change. Okay, so I did the neat little multi-cursor trick so I don't have to write this billions of times over. This is going to be an on change. Oh, sorry, I need to do. Oh, come on now, geez. I can't type tonight. And we'll do e.target.name. All right, so we'll do those two right now, and then we'll get into the rest of them here in a second. So what we're looking for here is we're going to be effectively just console logging out, since that's all that we have instead of input change, and making sure these name and value work. So if I refresh, so you can see we get the value out of here, but there is no name. Or maybe we do. Let me see here. Ah, yeah, the name. Oh, sorry, we haven't put a value in here at all. That's the problem. So we got on change type text. We're not actually giving it any type of a value. So what we need to do is we need to get our value off of our form values here. So let's destructure form values right quick. So this one is going to be name is going to be name, because that is the, oh, sorry, this is equal. This is the key name here in our initial order form. So we need to have name in the quotes in here. And then this one is going to be model. This one is not cars because we copy pasted that one. This one's color. There's no ID. Select your order. Okay, so that one's good. And then this one is the name of, and no ID on that one either. Terms. Like that. So all of these match the key that we used. Sorry, terms and performance. Now we need to put in our value. So the value is the variable. Form values dot name. I'm just going to copy this so I can be lazy. And this one is going to be model. Color. Performance. And terms. Like that. Ooh, I exploded it. Let's see, component is changing an uncontrolled input. This is usually what happens when you've got stuff that doesn't match. I don't know why. Let's see here. Yeah, it doesn't like our order. It's saying, yeah, it's not going to give me any of the information for that either. So I've got something that isn't working right. So let's see what happens when we start typing Brian. So you can see it's getting rid of everything right as soon as getting in there because we're not actually updating anything. So you've got our name and our value. If we go to model, we'll just say, Y. That's in there as well. And if we go to white, it says color white. And then if we select performance, you can see that it doesn't change anything because we're not updating the state. And then the terms, we're not changing anything on there because we're not updating state. We're just console logging it. But our inputs are now coming in to this function here. And we've got a name and a value. So I believe what we can do is we can do a set form values like this. We can spread in our form values and then just change the name value pair that was modified. Like that. So this is going to put all of these form values that are already there, and then it's going to overwrite whatever the key is with whatever the new value is. So flipping back and forth between a Mac and a PC constantly. All right, cool. So that seems to have gotten rid of our error message as well. So now I should be able to do Brian. Should be able to do, we'll say a model Y. White, performance or not, and terms. Let's see here. Yeah, but we got rid of the console log, which is fine. Yeah, we'll put the console log back in there so we can see it. So let me refresh. So you can actually see the item that's changing. So we're in the name field, Brian, model Y, white, and this time it sticks. Now we'll go gray. Sticks. We'll do a performance and have some terms. So now we haven't tried validating the data, and that's why this button still doesn't work. So I'll usually write some sort of a validator here. Actually, this needs to be, my brain's not up for this task for whatever reason. So now, if we're wanting to validate, we're wanting to validate our name and value. Like that. And we would probably want to do to invoke it here. Validate, and then just pass a name and value right from these. So it goes from being parameters to arguments back up to being parameters inside of validate. And at this point, you need to use yup again. And yup is going to be validating through reach. So and so reach, you need to pass in your schema. Sorry, what do we call our schema? Form schema. Thought so. Form schema. And then we also need to know which key to go off of. So it needs to know the form schema here. And are we going into name, model, performance, terms, or color? So that's what this does. The second thing that you need to do is you need to validate. And this is where you pass in your value. So that should be enough to get that button to work. But we still haven't done any error messages. So let's refresh. I believe this is going to be enough. Yeah, it's not. We'll go ahead and set our form errors anyway. So while we're here, any of the problems that we have in this, they're going to be set or reset based off of a .then or a .catch. So if the error, if it does not have an error, it will go through a then. And this will just be just a straight callback, nothing to it. What we'll do is we will set form errors. And we're going to be passing in the new object, spread in form errors, and then replace the name with an empty string. So this will be whatever the name is. and an empty string. So this is how it clears out the error when there's no longer an error, is because it's in a dot then. And so we're kind of using dot catch to actually modify what the error is. And so we'll do error. And this will actually be, this error is going to be whatever is in here. These required, these things. And it's going to be a very similar to the line above us. So we have a new object. We're spreading in form errors. We're putting in our name. But here, we need to get the topmost error, which is element 0. So this is, oh, sorry, I'm missing a. So what this is doing, yeah, that's better, is this is getting the error object from here. It's then going into the error array and getting the lowest error in the array. So the lowest, the 0th error. Let's save that. I want to just see what the errors come up with. Yeah, so let me refresh. And ooh, it exploded that. It didn't like that at all. Can it read properties of undefined? That's lovely. Let's console log error before we start doing something. All right, so we're going to refresh and just start typing. All right, so let's take a look at.
Hey, Brian, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
I know you normally do the console logs. I know you're one of the ones that taught me to do that on a consistent basis. For our sprint, can we leave them there just to I guess show that we're trying to make sure that we're getting back the right data, or should we not leave them there?
Well, so like technically when you're pushing, you should go ahead and remove them. Okay. Like you can actually go into like here, and if you go to like the search, you can just do console.log, and you can see that I've got, console.logs through some of this stuff here, and you can actually just go, oh, I've got one in app.js or index or whatever.
Okay, so typically we should just not have them. It's only when we're trying to set it up.
Yeah, and when I'm doing like a tutorial or something, it's a good way of me bumbling through this stuff a little bit easier and figuring out what is going on with the code. But like for an example, now we're getting this validation error minimum of 2 characters for your name. Okay. So this is actually app.js line 49 is giving us that, and I don't see it console logging anything. So I'm just going to put error in there and see what happens. So I'm just going to do error without destructuring anything. So see what goes into here. So refresh. So I should be able to put in a couple of things and then backspace, and then it should give us an error inside of our form errors. Yeah, so under name, it says validation error.
Minimum of 2.
Yeah, so we could just put the, yeah, it just like that. So, yeah, so let's see what happens. And check this. So we shouldn't have any form errors yet. Select our color. We can go into here, look at our form errors. Yeah, validate. Yeah, so this color is required is, yeah, see, this is capital W.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's got a match case too. Let's go back in here and let's try that. So the color was the one that was getting stuck on. So we'll do blue and open this up. There shouldn't be any form errors. And then terms. And if we do name, yeah, now we've got that button is lighting up because all of these are now in that schemas. There's no errors or anything else. But if I like backspace, then order your car disappears and we can open this up and say validation error minimum of 2. Sorry, I double clicked on that. There we go. Let's open up errors. Minimum of 2 characters for your name.
Okay.
So now what we can do is we could actually put in our form error right here. I'm sorry, I never destructured that. Just like that. And I'm just going to copy these. Yeah, so we need to change these to model. Color. I don't think there was an error on performance, so we'll just leave that off. And terms. With that. Did I really break that? Okay, we haven't broken it. So now if I do, oh, I exploded that. Wow, that's fancy. Objects are not valid React as a valid React child. Hmm. Let's see what exploded before we start making guesses. So this should be. Yeah, see, it is errors array 0. So this one, it's not error 0, error 0. It's just error.
Right. That
Yeah.
error, does that mean like it's referring to a specific child?
Yeah, it actually gave me all the information, but I knew that it was in the name because when I type BH and I go backspace, oh, let's see here. Let me clear this. Let's see here. It was, let's see, it's got form error. Name undefined. Oh, that's weird. I have to take that out and take a look at that again. So let's see how this crashes. All right, so all of this stuff, I'm not even looking at that. I'm looking at the data that I console logged instead of trying to figure out, you know, it says objects are not valid as a React child because this validation function here where we're setting the form errors, this is not a string. So I'm just trying to figure out, yeah, see, yeah, it should be error dot errors. Oh, maybe that's what I had. All right, that's, I see now. Yeah, typo. It's going to get you every time. All right, so now if I type this in, okay, now it's got minimum of 2 characters for your name right here. And then, this is,
That was super cool. I cannot lie.
and then, so like if I please follow the order flow, model is required.
So you're basically allowing the user to see the error.
Yeah. So like if I do select white, but if I go back to select my color, oh, that button should be working. Terms should be required. That's weird. Yeah, it's not allowing it with the terms. Yeah, I got terms, something is weird with terms, but this right here is enough where the form should be there. And I technically don't want this model Y to be there because the model, I want it to be coming from, up here, like that. So, order form for model Y. So you get rid of that one chunk of the order form. Where was it? Yeah. We don't need this model here. What we probably want is a use effect. And the use effect, of course, you need your callback. And so what we're going to do is whenever the page is rendered, we are going to update the model. So we're just going to do the input change. And this will be model. And this will be model because we're getting the model from this use param. So let's make sure this is working. So let's refresh so it's not so messy over here. So if I go into form values, you can see we have model Y in here. And it also doesn't loop because, we have this. This isn't filled out, it's just empty. Let's see if we've got, all right. So if I do name, Brian, select color, go with the red one, performance, terms. No idea why terms isn't working right. Have we modified terms over here? Actually, it's one of those weird where it's checked. Yeah, probably. So let me. I always forget. I'm going to look up React checkbox. Select. Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. Yeah, so they got value, label. It's always going to be something weird with that. I always forget what it is. Oh well. For right
Ryan,
now, I
Is
can't
the
think of it.
standard code for it, like the one you were just at, is that the standard code? Like, can you just input that and then just change the variables to what you want?
Is sort of, but I'm trying to do this with an object, which makes more sense to me, and they're not doing that.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
like they have, how to work with multiple checkboxes, which we do have multiple checkboxes, which is that big of a deal. But I could have swore that there's a something called checked on. Yeah, see, like you've got this input is checked. Yeah, I think that's the problem. Is we need to do instead of the value being a true or false, it's checked is the thing that's true or false. So what we would do is go back over here to the order form, and on, yeah, so we probably could just do checked equals form. And then I think I can just do this. I'm pretty sure I can do this. Yeah. Yeah, see, that still isn't working right. So there's a change handler problem that I'm running into, and I probably messed up my change handler in here. So yeah, because this is going to be I forgot how to do a checkbox. Sorry, guys. I know that they teach it to you in the guided project on day 2, or was it 3? Yeah, it was on day 3, where the change handler changes a little bit because there's a checked thing, and whatever reason, my brain's not quite working on it. I'm sure I'll think of exactly what it is, but value goes away, and then we pass in checked here. I think that's what it is. Oh, so many different ways of doing things. HTML. Let's see if that breaks it. All right, so color. Yeah, see, this shouldn't be allowing that button to be clicked until the terms are selected. I don't know why. Sorry, guys. Live coding, bad things happen, right? Anybody got an idea?
Honestly, I've gotten to the point where I literally just reset everything and start from scratch.
No, okay. Well, that happens too. So I guess the last thing that we want is to be able to submit our order. So we're going to make a order submitter, and we're going to use recres because I think that's also required on the sprint, but I don't remember. I would highly recommend reading the entire README document to the bottom of the page on this one, because there's stuff that they stuffed at the bottom. After even the stretch, there's like a frequently asked questions section, and it gives you more information on what they're expecting. So I don't know why they put it down there.
They say the
So-
word last.
Absolutely. So let's see, we've got a new one. We're just going to say I now. Sounds like a good name. We're going to pass in an object. So we're going to call that car form, because why not? Let's make it more confusing. And we're going to set, sorry, we're going to do an Axios. We need to install Axios now. So
Hey Brian, super quick.
sure.
Can we use npmi for everything, or do we always have to use install?
I is just a shortcut for install.
Okay, nice. I have been thinking about that, but thank you.
Yeah, it just makes my life easier. All right, so I've imported Axios, and we're now going to write the buy now function. So this is push, and one second, I think that I have this somewhere. It's on a different screen, but that's not a big deal. I just forget exactly what it is. So yeah, it's recres.in. Just do something like that, right? So what this is going to do is this is going to just give us some information back with like the submission date and an ID and things like that. So it gives us a piece of information that's formatted more like what you would find from a server than something that we can make here. And this is the same basic idea on like your build week and things like that, even though, you know, the unit 3, you're going to have authentication and all this other stuff. But the basic idea is still Axios, and you're pushing car form to recres in API orders. Oops, not dot orders. It should be slash orders. And theirs is going to go to the backend, the unit 4 person's backend instead of recres. So it's the same basic idea. Where it's like, wait, you just console logged again. I've got something erroring out somewhere. It says there's a problem. Where is the problem? I guess we're going to find out real quick. Failed to compile, missing semicolon. Oh, yeah, car form. Never quite got done writing the arrow function. There we go. Car form is not defined. No, capital F. All right,
Always a small
typos.
thing.
Typos everywhere. So we're just going to do select the color, white, performance. Yeah, sure, we agree. Refreshed. Oh, we gotta pass more than just that in. So we're gonna need to do our because we don't really need to pass in car form because we've already got our form here, our form values. And so what we do need is we need an event. So I guess we also need an on submit, but we need to pass this by now down to the order as well. Like that. See. Form values is not defined. Come on now. It's not form values, it's order form values. No, we got form values. No, there's no caps on the F. Yes, it's late. You can't tell, can you? I've only been up since 6 this morning. It's almost 11. All right, cool. So that's no longer crashing, which is a big plus. That's all right. So now on our form, we need an on submit. So in our on submit, we're going to do that by now. So I'm going to go ahead and do structure by now. And we're just going to invoke it, or not invoke it. We're going to do by now like that, save it, and refresh because the logs don't clear. And so my initials, color, gray, performance, terms, order. Ooh, that exploded. Oh, look at that. A.push is not a function. I don't know what that is. Oh, it's not push. You don't push to a server, you post. Right? There's no push to a server. It's posting. Oh man, one of these days I'm gonna get this right. So yeah, order my car. All right, cool. So now if you notice, it console logged color gray, created that, ID 868, model Y, BH, performance true, terms true. So it accepted my submission. I can now submit again for whatever reason. Now I've just bought 2 cars. That's horrible. I can't afford to have 2 Model Ys. All right, so let's see if we can do something with that data now that we have that. So let's go to completion, and we're just going to be like super lazy on this, and we're going to do for our car. We're going to set car, and so we're going to set car, and we're going to do res.data. And we're going to be super lazy because we're kind of running slightly long. Yeah, and we're already passing in car. So save that. And inside of here, what we're going to do is we're just going to do Oops. It's on stringify props.car. Save it. All right, so if I order a car and then click on completion, it's got the information in there. The problem is that it didn't go there when we hit order your car. So this is where you're going to use history. You've got link switch route. So this is one of the things that they've changed, of course. So what we're going to do is we're going to do let, because this is going to be something that can be mutated. And we're going to say history equals use history, like that. And then in the by now, once when this is done posting, and I'm using some stuff you probably have never seen before, which is fine. Oh, why did I keep doing that? I'm getting used to different keyboards again. So what finally does is it waits until this is done. Catch, it doesn't matter if there's an error in this, it will go to finally. So this is just a really super hacky way of me getting it to push to confirmation. So what we're going to do is we're going to do history.push and go to confirmation like that. So now if I type in ph, we'll get a black one this time. Performance, yeah, sure, terms. And I click on order your car. It says select the car you want. Did I misspell confirmation? Oh, it's completion. Oh, no wonder. Completion, save that. And we'll go to, we'll get a Model S this time. There we go. Order your car. Now it went to the completion page by doing that history.push. What do you guys think? This has been going for 2 hours now. Now we get to watch me do Cypress.
Enjoy.
Oh yeah. It's only been, I don't know, a few years since I went through the since I went through Lambda. So this is always fun. Oh, let me pull up my Cypress notes because it's late enough. I better not try to do it freehand or freestyle. So, all right. So I'm going to do, actually, I'm kind of wondering. I don't think that I've actually opened Cypress on this machine yet, so we'll find out. So I'm going to use the way that I usually do it, which is npx Cypress open. And that usually configures everything for me, at least it should. If not, then I'll need to pick a Cypress directory and go from there, but it should work. Let's hope. Oh, wow, that's so slow. Maybe I should have installed this earlier. What do you guys think?
I would say kind of, yeah. But at the same time, just depends, I guess.
Yeah, I could have just been running that while I programmed something else. There we go. So I'm going to do npx cypress open and see if it explodes. It shouldn't, but yeah, we'll find out. Yes. First time I'm running Cypress. Might take a little while. Oh, it exploded, of course. Let's see here. What does it say? I'm just going to run it one more time. All right. So we now have a Cypress folder. Got a few lovely little things in here. Let me see here. Where did I put my notes on this? I can never remember. Yeah. This work. So I'm just going to say that, and we're going to do, oh, geez. Give me 1 second to remember. So we have a new integration test, Tesla order, and we're going to do a describe. And this will be well, trying to think of how exactly I want to do this. So I don't think I need to be like super crazy on my test, but probably want to say routes to order form. And what we want to do is we're going to want it to go and visit our local host. So in this case, 3000. So no. Why can't I type today? And this is going to go to HTTP, not S, localhost 3000, not 300, 3000. Then we can start actually doing some sort of test. So just for brevity's sake, I'm just going to go to order. And somebody was asking earlier how to detect like the submit button, for an example. So we'll do an it. Submit button should be disabled. This will be another callback. And I believe that we can just do submit button. Let me see here. So we're going to need to do a Cypress get. That's right. And if we want to do this, I believe that will work there. So let me just make sure that the button type is submit. I'm pretty sure I can grab it based off of type. If not, then a lot of the times you'll see, you know, ID equals, you know, something like that. And I've even seen like things like that before, and that shouldn't break anything on here, but it allows you to get a target for your testing. But I think this will work. So what we want to do is we could store this like that. So this is kind of like a query selector here. So we're trying to get our button type of submit, and we're storing it as submit button. And if I remember right, it should, and then they have a a B disabled. 99% sure that's correct. It's been a little while since I've done this, and this is not in my notes either. So always fun. Open up Cypress, and we are going to do test order.js, which of course opens it in another window on the opposite side of the page, and I've broken it already, which is always lovely, right? Let's see, following originally from test code, not from Cypress. Oh, that's okay. I've already broken it. Usually happens when you accidentally write commands outside of an it test. All right, so we'll just kind of move that one over. And let's see, it. No, I don't think so. May have to, oh shoot, that might be why. I've got a firewall access thing. Let's try this again. Yeah, it's still doing that. Uncalled error was detected outside of a test. So it doesn't like the way I do my tests. I have to deal with Puppeteer at work, and I'm confusing the two. So let's see here. So we've got to describe with the callback. We've got our, okay, yeah. So this actually needs to be in a before each. Like that. Otherwise, it can't just go and visit. It's got to do this before each one of these tests. So let's save that and see. All right, so button type submit to be disabled. And see, it didn't go to the correct address. So let me refresh. Yeah, see, it's trying to go to order. We'll just say order/3. So let's change that. Okay, cool. So that actually passed its test. So because now it has a button that is disabled. Okay, so now we're playing with fire. I've actually got Cypress running for the first time on this computer. So always lovely. So what we might do is we might do something like it enters text, for an example, just to make sure that the text box actually gets something into it. And so what we might do is, let's see, what would it be? We're going to need to grab the input for the name, for an example. So let's do, we'll just call it text input for lack of a better name. And we're going to do a scigit. And with this one here, we're going to do an input, because it's an input, not a button. And we're going to have a name equals name. So that's kind of like a query selector where it's going to select input with name is equal to name. And we can then do text input. I believe we can just do a should. Have value of nothing. That's how we first started off. It should be empty. Then we're going to tell it to type something. Then we can do another should. And that should be a have value of. All right, so let's save this and see if this this works. Yeah, so it says that it enters text. I don't remember how to do a check, a color on there. Then you can do, let's see, it selects color. We're gonna have to look this one up. All right, so this is gonna be const color input. You can kind of see our pattern happening. And this is going to be input name equals color. And this should have a value of select your color. Let's save that and see if that allows it. Oh, wrong one. The Cypress one. No, we've got, there it is. So says input name equals color is not on there. So let me go back over here and see what we got. So it's not an input, it's a select, that's why. Yeah. Now let's try it again. So, but the value is select. Okay, well, apparently it doesn't do spaces. So it's just the first word then. Which is weird. All right, cool. So it submits, the submit button is disabled, enters text and selects color. I'm going to then need to do a Google search for see, single value select element. Yeah, so it's yeah, so it's just a dot select. So let's try that. Select white. And then we're going to do a value of white. Oh, capital W. Actually, yeah, it should be lowercase. Let's see if this works. We have my upper and lowercase stuff. Okay, so yeah, and it did select white, so we're good. So now what we can do is we can kind of combine these. It statements. So we're going to kind of get rid of some of this code here. And we're going to say enabled in this case. And this last one is going to be, yeah, submit button should it was not, yeah. Not be standard. Pretty sure that's right. Yeah. So this last one, so each one of these tests that we did in here, you're just checking to make sure that something didn't fail. And then because we have this before each, it's going to this sci visit, so I don't have to type this in every single test. The first one is making sure the button is disabled with no text. Second one is to make sure that it actually enters the text. Third one is to make sure that it selects a color. And this last one is what you would call a integration test. So it's you're integrating these other tests in here to make it so you make sure that this button is enabled, or in this case, not be disabled. And since we already know that our terms doesn't do anything because brain tiny, Thursday night, 11:30. Not entirely sure why that's not working, but it's okay. We'll figure it out eventually. So that's kind of how that works. I know everybody was kind of freaking out about Cypress. Oh no, it's testing. I can tell you from firsthand experience that testing isn't really that hard. It's just a lot of the times you kind of have to look at it from a different perspective. So like this one here is actually it doesn't route to order form. This one is going to be form works as, and in this case, you know, you might want to make sure the button is disabled on each one of these: text, color, and probably on terms as well. So if the button is still disabled on terms when you have text and the color, this one here should actually be disabled because we haven't selected that terms button. So this one here is actually failing this last test because the submit button is not disabled. It's enabled right here. So that would be a test to see if your terms were working or not. I think everybody went to sleep, huh?
No, I'm still here.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for the most part, for me, like I was going through your order. Like, makes sense to me.
Okay. I'm going to stop the recording here and we'll do just a Q&A. And to stop